be an extended session on non-parametric tests. So before starting the session, I tell you that since we will be continuing from where we left, so in the first session that we have done, if you have any queries before starting today's session, you may ask me, or if you don't have any query, then we will straight away start from where we left. And during the session also, if you have any queries or if any doubt, please unmute yourself and talk with me. And at the end of the session also, you are free to ask any question. So now, before starting today's session, as I always start with a prayer, so let me start with a prayer. Om, lead us from unreality to reality, lead us from darkness unto light, lead us from death to immortality. Om, peace, peace, peace. So, just to check before we start today's session, I am sharing my screen. Please tell me that whether you can see my screen or not, whether it is shared or not, and I am audible or not. So can you see my screen?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
It is clearly visible. I will send you the PPTs as well, so that at your convenience you can go through the PPTs. So today we will be starting the second session on non-parametric statistics, and actually uh, what will be today's session, I just write it here again, just for a recap, that in our last class we have actually dealt with, initially to start with, we have tested the conditions, we have tested the conditions, and we have tested normality condition with the help of Shapiro-Wilks test and Kolmogorov-Smirnov test, and we have checked homogeneity of variance assumption with the help of Levine's test. I think these two you can remember. Do you remember these two tests that we have done in order to check whether our data is suitable for parametric or non-parametric? And after checking the data, if we have found that these assumptions are violated, then we apply non-parametric tests. If this assumption holds, then we apply parametric test. If the assumptions are violated, then we apply non-parametric test. And in our last class, we have dealt with uh, independent t-tests, non-parametric equivalent, that is the Mann-Whitney test we have dealt with. And for the non-parametric equivalent of paired t-test, we have dealt Wilcoxon signed rank test. Do you remember these things?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So what will be today's agenda is, see that these are all two sample case that we have done. Two sample case. Now, today we will go on to deal with more than two sample, means greater than two sample. So the first one will be one factor ANOVA, one factor rather independent ANOVA. One factor independent ANOVA. The non-parametric equivalent of one factor independent ANOVA is the Kruskal-Wallis test. And then we will go on to deal with one factor repeated measure ANOVA. And the non-parametric equivalent of one factor repeated measure ANOVA is the Friedman test. So let us start with Kruskal-Wallis first. Now, these things generally, the Kruskal-Wallis statistics we call this at H test. But in SPSS, when you run this Kruskal-Wallis test, it will show you the chi-square result. Why? Because this H approximates chi-square distribution. Today I will also deal with you the chi-square test that I will be dealing in detail. No issue with that. You will be able to understand what is chi-square and why in social science it is very popular. That I will discuss. But in order to cut things short, generally when you have two or more independent samples, and in case of two independent samples, you can run the Mann-Whitney test that we have already understood. Now, if there are more than two samples, then you cannot apply Mann-Whitney test anymore. Then you need to apply this Kruskal-Wallis test. And generally, what happens here is, uh, since it is a non-parametric test, so you can very well understand that normality will fail, normality assumption will not hold. And generally, in case of Kruskal-Wallis, similar to Mann-Whitney or for that matter Wilcoxon signed rank test, the data should be ordinal in nature. It should not be continuous. If it is continuous, if it is interval or ratio scale data, then we can apply any parametric test. But in this instance, one factor ANOVA you can run. But since our data is ordinal in nature and it does not hold the assumptions, then we need to apply this Kruskal-Wallis test. Now, here I have just I want to show you the test statistics formula. The test statistic formula you can see here. This H, that is the Kruskal-Wallis H. The formula is how we can, if we want to calculate manually, this is our test statistics. Actually here 12 by capital N, N is the sample size, within bracket n plus 1, summation I to the power G. Here G is noted as say small ni, R this is the coefficient of correlation value, and minus n plus 1 by 2 whole square. So here actually this formula you need to write in any research paper, because we have to define the test statistics there, but no need to apply it manually, because SPSS will help you to run at the back end this formula. So let us now go to the data set to understand why we need to run this analysis. So if you go to the Kruskal-Wallis test, first we need to understand the story behind the data set, why we, in which situation we will be applying this type of test. First we need to understand that. So just check. I am audible, I think.
Yes, sir.
Acha. So just check, two variables is here. One is the group, the other is the relax. Now what does group means? We have put some values here. See that 1 is equal to pill, 2 is equal to hypnosis, 3 is equal to exercise. Now very well understand here that this is a 3 samples case. Why? Because 1, you are administering pill or medicine, second, you are administering hypnosis, third, you are administering exercise. So why we need to do this? What is the actual story behind this? If you go to the data view, you find that if you check here, that we have 18 samples. Our sample size is 18. Now 3 groups we have segregated. One group which contains 6 members. That 6 members have been given medicine or pill. Then there are 5 members who has been given the hypnosis technique. Then third group, 7 members are there who has been given exercise, to do exercise. What is, why it is being given? The story is that, say, these 18 people, they were feeling restless. They need to have some relax. So in order to enhance their mood, in order to enhance their productivity, some relaxation techniques have been applied to them. So they have been segregated into 3 groups. The first group has been given medicine or pill. They comprise of 6 members. Second group comprised of 5 members have been given the hypnosis technique of relaxation. And the third group, 7 members, they have been given the exercise technique of relaxation. And after 15 days, they have been asked to give their ratings, that how much they are feeling relaxed after they have been administered these relaxation techniques. And in a 0 to 50 point scale, the 18 members have given the rating. So this is the relax variable where they have given the rating. So you can understand very well that when you are giving ratings, so it is a ordinal scale data. So in case of ordinal scale data, so you need to apply this non-parametric test when you have seen that your normality or homogeneity of variance assumption is violated. So here you can check that previously when we have used Mann-Whitney test, it was a 2 sample case, a 3 sample case. Why? Because 3 groups are there. One has been administered pill, second has been administered hypnosis, third exercise. So it is more than 2 cases. So in case of more than 2, you cannot apply Mann-Whitney anymore. You have to apply Kruskal-Wallis test. How we apply this, I am going to show you how we do this. But beforehand, just tell me that whether the story of the data is clear to you or not.
Sir, it is clear to me.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so just check how we run the Kruskal-Wallis test here. Similarly, as we have done in our last class, go to analyze, go to non-parametric. If you click the legacy dialogues, here Acha, can you tell me this will be a related sample or an independent sample? From the data set which I have just explained you, can you tell me they are independent or they are related?
So they are independent. Independent.
Very good,
Independent.
very good, very good, very good, brilliant. Why? Because the three techniques are independent of each other. They are not related to each other. They are altogether different. That's why we will be. Acha, now tell me that whether you will be using these two independent sample or k independent sample.
K independent sample.
Very good, very good. Why? Because it is more than 2 case. Here we have 3 groups, so it is more than 2. That's why we will be using k independent sample. This is clear to you?
Yes, sir.
Okay, we click now k independent sample. So now you check. We have 2 variables, group and relax. So this relax is the dependent variable here. So we are putting this dependent variable under test variable list box. And we are putting this group under grouping variable box. Similarly, as we have done in our last class, we have to define the range. Now, how many groups are here? Can anyone tell me how many? 3. So minimum will be 1 and maximum will be
3.
3. Very good. So we click continue. See here the range has been defined. Now by default it is choosing Kruskal values H. We will be applying this Kruskal values H only. So we click OK. See here test result has been given. Now tell me that before going to the interpretation of this case, tell me what should be the null hypothesis and what should be the alternative hypothesis. As we have done in our last class, we should define the hypothesis before testing it. Can anybody tell me, after listening to the story of the data set, what should be the null hypothesis and what should be the alternative hypothesis? Anybody can tell me what should be the hypothesis, because already we have.
So now hypothesis is that there is a no relation between group and relax.
No relation between
Groups and relax.
Hmm.
And alternative hypothesis is that there is a significant relation between group and relax.
Now tell me, in our last class, I have shown you that the alternative hypothesis is nothing but the researcher's idea or the researcher's claim. And null hypothesis is actually just the opposite of the researcher claim. That is clear? So here, what is the researcher idea? What is the claim of the researcher? What should be the claim of the researcher here? That the groups rating are different? That the 3 relaxation techniques results are different? Clear or not?
Yes, sir.
So we should frame here that there are differences. There are differences. What we should write between the
Group and relax.
you can write just between the groups ratings. Clear?
Yes, sir.
Now, what should be the null hypothesis then?
There are no significant differences between the groups rating.
Very good. There are no significant differences between the groups rating. Just always remember that as a researcher, whatever is our idea or claim, that should be put into alternative hypothesis. And just the opposite of it is the null hypothesis. Why? As a researcher, we always try to find that we will be successful. That's why we should always accept the alternative hypothesis. In order to accept the alternative hypothesis, we need to reject the null hypothesis. But always it not be same. Sometimes we may fail. We may fail to reject null hypothesis. But that is the research. No? That is the beauty of research, that we claim something, but statistically it may not be tenable or viable. That's why we do research. Clear?
Yes, sir.
So now if you go to the output table, here, see, 18 members were administered these relaxation techniques, and 3 relaxation techniques has been administered. 6 members, this is how we write. See, this table we call the descriptive table. This table we call the inferential table or the inferential statistics. This is the descriptive statistics. So when we have got this data, after, where in our research paper, what we will do, we will select this. When we have double clicked and select, we will copy and we will paste in our Word file. After we have pasted the table in the Word file, then below we need to interpret. How we will write that? Here there are total 18 members who have been administered the 3 relaxation techniques. 6 members have been administered pill, 5 members have been administered hypnosis, 7 members have been administered exercise. And from the mean rank table, we see that the highest rating is given by those members who have been administered exercise, that is 14.29, followed by 5 members who have been administered hypnosis, that is 10, and the least rank given is to those members who have been administered pill. Now, so we can find that there is significant differences between the group ratings. Now, whether it is statistically significant or not, that's why we need to apply the inferential statistic. And basically, when you calculate manually, in any statistics book, you will find the value is given as H, capital H. But here SPSS assumes the chi-square distribution. Why? Because it assumes that the Kruskal values H actually approximates the chi-square distribution. That's why it gives chi-square value. So from the test statistic table, how we can interpret, how we can write, this is how we write. See, 13.262. So chi-square is written like this, is equal to 13.262. Degree of freedom is equal to 2 by n minus 1. 3 groups are there, and p-value is equal to, what is the p-value given here?
0.01.
0.001.
Oh, sorry.
0.001. So 0.001, which is less than 0.05. If we have assumed 5% level of significance, generally we assume this. We may also assume 1% level of significance. Then we write here less than 0.01. But this is mostly we use. So what we can do here, we can accept the null hypothesis or we can reject the null hypothesis.
Sir, it is significant, so we can reject
the null hypothesis.
Very good. So what should be our conclusion? What should be our conclusion? That the 3 groups that the three groups do not appear to be equal. Do not appear to be equal what? In their ratings?
Yes, sir.
In their ratings of what?
In the ratings of relaxation technique.
Relaxation.
Good. Of the relaxation technique or method. Clear? This is clear to you?
Yes, sir.
Now, if you have any doubt regarding how to run the Kruskal-Wallis, why we use Kruskal-Wallis, how we should run the Kruskal-Wallis, you may ask me. I will repeat once more. Or otherwise, if it is okay with you, in your chat box, please just it will be better for me, since we are doing this in an online mode and I am trying to give you a hands-on session. So better if we can interact. If you write just type O for OK, then we will proceed. Or if you type R, then I will repeat. Okay, I will repeat once more. So it will be better. You can use the chat box. So you can use the chat box, just O for OK, then I will proceed. Or if you write R, then I will repeat. Okay. So please give some response. So only one response I've got. 2. At least 5 response I need to proceed. Otherwise I have to repeat. Till now I have got, okay, 5 response I've got. Thank you. So I can proceed now. I am taking the majority version, but it is my duty to repeat once more if at least one tells me to repeat. So anybody who wants that you have some doubt or query, please you can unmute yourself and just raise your queries. I will try my level best to give you the response. So now let us go to the Friedman test. Now, generally, if your samples are not independent of each other, if they are related to each other, and if you have more than say 2 samples, then you know that in case you have 2 samples, then you apply, if the samples are related to each other, we apply pair t-test. Now if it is a case of more than 2, then since it is not independent, we apply the one factor repeated measure ANOVA. Now when you test the assumptions and you find that the assumption is violated, then for the one factor repeated measure ANOVA's non-parametric equivalent is the Friedman test. And actually the Friedman test, basically the formula of Friedman test is here. I have given here. Just you can check. This is the formula. Friedman Q formula is 12 small n by k into k plus 1 summation j is equal to 1 to the power k. Same formula r bar dot j minus k plus 1 by 2 to the power whole square. Generally, what happens is if your n or k is large enough, we apply this For that matter, we call this Friedman Q. But similarly, I will tell you, if your sample size is large, then these will be approximated to chi-square by SPSS. I will show you that why, like similarly for Kruskal-Wallis H is approximated by chi-square. Similarly, this Friedman's Q is also approximated by chi-square by SPSS if your sample size is large enough. Now, just I will show you with the help of the data set, then only you will be able to understand the difference. My screen is visible?
Yes, sir.
So this we need to apply Friedman test. Why we will be applying Friedman test? What is the scenario of applying this? I will discuss now with the help of this data set. First, you understand the story behind this data set. Just check that there are three variables here, or three samples you may say. Here we are taking breakfast, lunch and dinner. Now, what is the story behind this data set? Now, if you check the data set here, you will find that 10 members of the family, they have visited some place. Say your family members, you have 10 in total, you have gone to Darjeeling and you have stayed there for 3 days. Now, at the end of your visit, when you are coming back home, last night, the hotel manager has asked these 10 family members to give ratings about their meals that they have enjoyed. So, say there are 3 meals given by the hotel: breakfast, lunch and dinner. And they have been asked to give rating in a 0 to 100 point scale. So, the 10 members have given ratings: breakfast, lunch and dinner. Now, just check. This is a 3 sample case, more than 2. Why? Because breakfast, lunch and dinner. So you will not be able to apply 2 sample case, that is the pair t-test. Here you have to apply the 1 factor repeated measure ANOVA. Why? Because they are related to each other, because the same person is giving rating to breakfast, lunch and dinner. So it is a repeated measure case. It is not independent of each other. So we apply the repeated measure. Now since it is 3, so it is more than 2. So you apply the Friedman test. In case of independent measure more than 2, you apply Kruskal-Wallis. In case of repeated measure more than 2, you apply Friedman. So tell me that whether it is the logic is clear to you or not.
Yes, sir.
Sir, once more, can you just
Yes, yes.
this logic? I mean, this logical part.
Yes, yeah, I am repeating. No issue. Just listen carefully. If you have any doubt, please feel free to ask me. See here. See, when we have more than 2 samples, in case of 2 samples, the parametric test we apply is t-test. In case of more than 2 samples, the parametric test we apply is ANOVA. This should be clear first. Now, when your assumptions is violated, you cannot apply this ANOVA anymore. You have to apply the non-parametric equivalent of ANOVA. In case of non-parametric ANOVA, there are 2 options. One is 1 factor independent measure, when they are independent of each other, and the other is 1 factor repeated measure, when they are not independent of each other or they are related to each other. Here we apply Kruskal-Wallis and here we apply Friedman. So the story that I am telling you is related to here. It is a 3 sample case and it is related. Clear?
Yes, sir.
So now if you check the data, see here 3 sample case, more than 2 groups, and they are related to each other because the same participant or the same member is giving rating to the 3 meals. This is clear now?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Now can you tell me what should be our null hypothesis and what should be our alternative hypothesis? As a researcher, what is our claim or what is our idea?
Sir, our alternative hypothesis is that there is a significant difference between breakfast, lunch, and dinner of 10 members.
Good. There are differences. There are differences between the ratings ratings of what? Ratings of the quality of food.
Yes, sir.
And it is served actually quality of food in the 3 meals. Actually they have been served 3 meals. So in the 3 meals. And here we will write there are no differences.
No differences.
First tell me that this is clear to you or not?
Yes, sir. Please.
This hypothesis framing is clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, what we have to do after we have framed the hypothesis, what we need to do now? Can anybody tell me after we have framed the hypothesis, as a researcher, what we should do now?
Test the hypothesis.
Very good, very good. We have to test the hypothesis now. So, we have this data set with us and we will be testing the hypothesis. So now let's go to analyze non-parametric. Which one we should choose here? Can anybody tell me? Which one?
Key related samples.
Very good. Why? Because this is a related sample case and since it is more than 2, we will choose K related samples. Very good. So when you have clicked this, you get this dialog box. Now what you need to do? You need to send all these 3 variables under test variable box. And we will be checking the Friedman test. Why we are running the Friedman test? So we will be checking Friedman here and we will click OK. Just check the result. When we have got the result, now what we need to do? We need to interpret the result. So what we should do? First we should choose this. Just I am showing you how we should do. In our Word file, what we will do, we will paste here and then we will interpret. Similarly, second table we will choose, we will copy and we will paste in our Word file and then we will interpret. Now first, how we will interpret here? See, we have 3 meals being served to us, breakfast, lunch and dinner. The mean rank given by the members, if you check, there is difference in the mean ranks. The highest rating given to lunch, followed by dinner, and the worst rating given to breakfast. So we can understand from the rank that there is differences in the quality of food, in the ratings of the quality of food given by the members. Now we need to check it statistically, whether it is significant or not, with the help of test statistics. If you check here, n is equal to 10. Why? Because members are 10. And you know that this Friedman Q statistics actually approximates chi-square. That's why SPSS gives chi-square value. So how we should write? We should write like this: chi-square is equal to 7.800. Degree of freedom is equal to 2. P-value is equal to, what is the p-value?
0.020.
0.020. So 0.020, which is less than 0.05. So what we will do here?
Sir, this is significant.
So we should reject the null hypothesis.
Yes.
And what should be our conclusion? What should be our conclusion then?
There are differences in the quality of
Yes.
food.
There are differences in the quality of food lunch meal served is the best. Clear? This is okay? How we can tell that lunch is the best? If you check the mean rank, see, lunch has got the highest rating. Clear? So just in the chat box you write, if it is okay you write O, or if you want me to repeat, write R. Or anybody, if you want any discussion or query, you may unmute and talk with me. So I'm putting off my video because my bands with signal is being volatile now. So just I'm putting off my video. I think my audio is clear. You can hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. So because we are doing some online sessions, so sometimes due to internet issues, there are lots of problems. Can you see my screen? My screen is
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. So just if it is okay with you, just type O, or otherwise if you want me to repeat once more, you just type R. Here you have, apart from me, I think we have 18 in number. I am getting only response from 2 or 3. Why it is so? You are here with me. You are following me? So now we have completed the non-parametric test for T as well as ANOVA.
Sir, one question is that,
Yes, please.
sir, treatment test and chi-squad test are same. In
Again, repeat once more.
sir, my question is that Friedman test and chi-squad test is are same.
No. I will be dealing with chi-square now. Okay.
Okay, sir. Okay.
Actually, SPSS gives you result in the form of chi-square. Why? Because it approximates that Friedman Q is approximating chi-square, or Kruskal values H is approximating chi-square. The distribution, it seems that the distribution is chi-square distribution. That's why it gives chi-square. But chi-square is different. I will now deal with chi-square now. Okay. Then it will be clear to you what is chi-square.
Okay, sir.
Basically, in case of, we write like this chi-square, the formula of chi-square, the other sorry, for the test statistic of chi-square is like this. Now basically, when we have data which is in frequency, a count data or percentage data, then we apply this chi-square. If our data is captured in the form of frequency or count or percentage, then we apply this chi-square data. Now basically there are three types. One is the cross-tab chi-square that I will deal. Next is the chi-square goodness of fit. Third is the test of independence. So basically, we can apply three types of chi-square. One is as a cross-tab. For goodness of fit test, we can apply chi-square, and for test of independence also we can apply chi-square. Now let us start with the cross-tab first. Here, check that I have already mentioned that in case of frequency data or percentage data or proportion data, we apply this chi-square. And basically, when your data is nominal or ordinal or categorical in nature, you can apply this chi-square because it is a non-parametric test. And apart from cross-tab, we can apply this goodness of fit or test of independence chi-square also. Now, let us, before going to goodness of fit, let us start with the cross-tab first. So let me start with the cross-tab. Actually, chi-square, when we are talking about cross-tab, it is nothing but the contingency table. Basically, when you create a contingency table means you have two criteria. One is column criteria, the other is row criteria. When you format in that manner, you apply this cross tabulation. Generally, you will find that we can show it in like this. These are called columns, and these are called rows. So basically, in a when we have two variables, so one you can put in column, other you can put in rows. But if you are more than three variables, say you have more than two, say 3 or 4 or 5, then visualizing is problem. So that's why what SPSS does, suppose you have 3 variables, then it will put one variable as column, another variable as row, and the third it will put it in layers. So if you have 5 variables, so then third, fourth, fifth, it will put in layers. Suppose I am putting 1 in column and 2 in row. So the third variable, fourth variable will be put in layers. I will show you how SPSS does this. I will start with a 2 variable case, then I will extend it with a 3 variable case where layer will come. So now let us understand this data set, then it will be easier for us. Can my screen is visible? Can you see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
So basically, what is this data set about? First, you need to understand the story behind this data set. Here, if you check, we have rather 3 variables. This we will not call variable, but rather we will call these 2 variables, party and tax. Why frequencies is coming, I will tell you. Now, if you have say 2 variables, party and tax, see here, we have 2 parties. One is the conservative party, the other is the liberal party. So SPSS understand a number, that's why we have converted conservative as 1, we have denoted liberal as 2. So we have framed value 1, label conservative, add, second value 2, label liberal, add, and automatically this we have entered. Similarly, we have 2 taxation, this tax, you may call it, say, in our Indian context, you may call it as GST. So when GST was launched, some people were for GST, some people were against GST, and some people were neutral. So we have put it like this. 1 is for, means favorable towards GST. 2 is against GST. Third is don't know or neutral. So we have put like this. Now, if you check here, see, conservative party member who are for GST, how many numbers? 78. Conservative party member who are against GST, how many number? 30. Conservative party member who are neutral, 12. So how many members are here? 78 plus 12, 90 plus 30, 120. 120 members are from conservative party. Now come here, liberal for 18. So 18 members belonging to liberal party are favorable towards GST. 50 members who are liberal party members who are against GST. 12 members, liberal party members who are neutral. So how many? 50 plus 18 plus 12. 18 plus 12, 30 plus 50, 80. So 80 members belong to liberal group, 120 members belong to conservative group. So our sample size is 200. Now, individually we have not entered, we have entered in frequencies. We have got the frequency data. So generally, I tell you, when you are entering this frequency data, what you have to do is, when you have entered like this, you have to go to data and you have to click weight cases. Again, I am repeating, when you have got frequency data, after you have entered the data, you need to go to data and you click weight cases. When you have clicked weight cases, you have to bring this frequency data under weight cases by. Only then SPSS will take into consideration this frequency data and it will analyze, otherwise it will not. That's why we have to, again I am repeating, that's why we have to go to data, we have to run this weight cases, and we have to bring this frequency data under weight cases by, that is under frequency variable. So we have to bring this frequency data under weight cases by, and if we click OK, then it will show that it has actually run the weight on. Now if you check here at the extreme right hand corner, can you see weight on? Can you see this weight on?
Yes, sir.
So before running the analysis, you need to do this. You have to actually trigger this weight on. Only then SPSS will run the frequency data. This is clear?
Yes, sir.
Now, when you have initiated this weight on, and when you have initiated weight on, you know that frequency data has been captured by SPSS. Now, what we do? We will be going for applying the chi-square. Now, why we need to apply this chi-square? Can anybody tell what is the logic behind applying this chi-square? Can anybody tell me what is the logic? Why we will be doing the chi-square? See here, we have frequency data. So we need to check that how many of the members belong to Conservative Party are against GST, how many are in favor to GST, how many are neutral to GST. Similarly, how many liberal members are favorable towards GST, are against GST, and how many are neutral. So we are trying to ascertain that the patterns we have identified the patterns by the frequency data, whether they are significant or not. Clear? So when you are, I'm writing what chi-square do. Chi-square actually enables us to ascertain whether the patterns in the data set that we have identified, whether the patterns identified, which is frequency data, are significant or not. So you need to check, because you know that this chi-square test, this is an inferential statistic test, inferential statistics test, because you understand that there are two types of statistics, descriptive and inferential. Chi-square is an inferential statistic test, and it is non-parametric in nature. Clear? So now you have this data set. How we will run? We have entered the data. The data set is clear to you? The story behind the data set is clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now what we do? We have to create the crosstab table. So that's why we will go to analyze and we go to descriptive statistics. Under analyze, under descriptive statistics, check. We have crosstabs. Can you see?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So we click crosstab. Now make it a point. Which is our influencing variable? Can anybody tell me which is our influencing variable here? The dependent variable is tax. Why? Because you are favoring GST or you are against GST or you are neutral to GST. But your voting preference depends on your party affiliation. Whether you are conservative or liberal, it is influencing you. I would request the participants to mute yourself. Everybody please mute because I am getting a surrounding sound. Only when you need to talk with me, just unmute and talk with me. So here we can understand from the data set that the members who are favorable towards GST or against towards GST or neutral towards GST, their preference is being influenced by their party affiliation. That's why party affiliation is the influencing variable. And the thumb rule is that you should always put the influencing variable under column. Why? Because when we read a table, we read row wise, not column wise. That's why the influencing variable should be put in column. And the dependent variable or the influenced variable should be put under rows. Frequencies we have created the weight on, so no need to select frequency. Automatically SPSS will read. Now, in order to understand the frequencies graphically, we need to check this display clustered bar charts. This is done for nominal or ordinal data. If we want to check in graph the nominal or ordinal data, we always click this display clustered bar charts. Now, to go to statistics. Under statistics, you will find this chi-square. We click because we are running the chi-square, crosstab chi-square. So we select this chi-square, continue. Under sales, you have to check, we will be comparing the observed with the expected frequency. So we need to click both, observed and expected. And generally, percentage data, when you have percentage data, when you have frequency data, if you convert it into percentage, it is easier for us to interpret. So that's why we will convert this frequency data into percentage. And since our influencing variable, we have put the party affiliation in column, so the percentage we should select is column, because we will read row wise. That's why we are selecting column. Why? Because column is the influencing variable. Which is the influencing variable? Party affiliation. We need to check the percentage. Why? Because it will be easier for us to interpret the percentage value. So we click continue. Then click OK. You will get the result now. Just check. Just check. This bar chart is being given. We will interpret. This is very easy to interpret. We have been given the inferential statistics result. We have been given the crosstab, the contingency table. And from the case processing summary, you can understand we have 200 members and there is no missing data. So 200 members have given their preferences. Now we need to check the row wise and column wise table, the cross tabulation table. If you check, see here, how many numbers are there? 200 members. Out of that 200 members, how we interpret? Just check my interpretation. We have 200 members. Out of that, 120 members belong to Conservative Party. 80 members belong to Liberal Party. Now, 48% of the total member, that is out of 200, 48% are favorable towards GST. They are favorable towards GST. 40% are against GST. 12% are neutral towards GST. Now, if you check the favorable and against and don't know column, you will find, check, 65% of the members who are conservative or who belong to Conservative Party, they are favorable towards GST. 22.5% of the members who are Conservative Party members are, who are Liberal Party members are favorable towards GST. See here, 25% of the members who belong to Conservative Party are against GST. 62.5% of the members who belong to Liberal Party are against GST. And 10 and 15% are neutral, so there is hardly any difference between the neutral group. So from here, if you check, we can say that maximum of the members who belong to Conservative Party are favorable towards GST, and maximum members who belong to Liberal Party are against GST. So Conservative Party members are in favor towards GST and Liberal Party members are against GST. That we can see with the help of this graph clearly. Check. See, blue Conservative, green Liberal. So just check the for. So Conservative, maximum Conservative Party members are favorable towards GST. Maximum Liberal Party members are against GST. And neutral, more or less same. This is clear to you?
Yes, sir.
Now statistically we need to check with the help of inferential statistics. Whatever we have interpreted with the help of the crosstab table, with the help of the clustered bar chart or the graph table, we need to check it statistically. For that we have to apply the inferential statistic result. See here, many options has been given, but we will take into consideration the Pearson chi-square. Why? Likelihood ratio, actually likelihood ratio we will take only if our sample size is very small. Only then we take. Linear by linear association, actually if we want to try to understand the trend among our data set, we check. But popularly or normally we will be taking into consideration only the Pearson chi-square value. So just 35.938. So let me interpret chi-square is equal to 35.938. Degree of freedom is equal to what is the degree of freedom? 2. Asymptotic significance is 0.001. So, what we need to do here? Can anybody tell me what we need to do? What we need to do? Whether we will be accepting or rejecting.
So this is significant.
So we will be
Rejecting.
now. What will be our hypothesis? Can anybody tell me? Now it should be clear to you. What should be the hypothesis?
There are differences. There are differences in opinion for the taxation amongst the parties.
Yes, that means I have mentioned here. Just check. The patterns identified are significant. Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
Patterns identified are significant because our result is significant. So the null hypothesis actually, the patterns identified are not significant and the alternative is significant. So we are rejecting the null hypothesis and we are accepting it. So we will tell the patterns identified are significant. So actually the party membership are influencing the voting preferences towards the tax regulations or GST regulations. Clear? Because from the graph it is very clear to us that there is influencing in the voting pattern by the party membership, because the Conservative Party members are favorable towards GST, the Liberal Party members, a majority of them are against GST. That is clear to you?
sir. Clear.
Yes. Yes.
So we have completed this cross tab portion. So first part is complete. Now we will go towards goodness of fit, then I will follow it up with the test of independence. Can you see my screen? My screen is visible?
Yes, sir.
So any doubt regarding the cross-tab chi-square, you may ask me. You just unmute yourself and ask me. If you have any doubt, any query, please feel free to ask me. So just in the chat box, you write if it's okay or not. Just write O, then I will proceed. Or if you write R, then I will repeat once more. At least 5 response I should get. Okay, thank you. Thank you. Now, my screen is visible, na?
Yes, sir.
Acha. Previously, just now, I have shown you a 2 into 2 table. Basically, it was a 2 variable case. One was party, the other was tax. Now suppose if you have more than 2 variable, suppose you have 3 variable, say party, same example I'm keeping, I'm just extending it. Second is tax. Now third, I am incorporating sex here. Sex means say male and female. Gender, I'm putting gender. Male, female. Means among the members, some will be male, some will be female. So I'm capturing that. So now you can see here, it will be a 2 into 3 table. So only you can read column and row. If it is more than 2, then SPSS incorporating as layer. So now I will show you how this is done. This is clear to you?
Yes, sir.
Say, see here, that same variable you can find now. I have added gender or sex. One termed as male, second is termed as female. So we have added a third variable apart from party and tax. Party same, one conservative, two liberal, and GST or tax same, one for favorable, two against, third don't know, neutral. And frequencies you already know. These are the frequency data. So we have extended a third variable, that is sex here or gender. So the total sample size is 800 now. I have extended the sample size. So total case is 800. Out of 800, 200 members are male members who belong to Conservative Party are favorable towards GST. 40 male members who belong to Conservative Party are against GST. 24 male members who belong to Conservative Party are neutral towards GST. Similarly, 112 party members who are conservative, who are female, are favorable towards GST. 80 female members who belong to Conservative Party are against GST, and 24 female members who belong to Conservative Party are neutral towards GST. Similarly, 40 male members who belong to Liberal Party are favorable towards GST. 60 male members who belong to Liberal Party are against GST. 24 male members who belong to Liberal Party are neutral towards GST. And 32 female members, Liberal Party members, are favorable towards GST. 140 Liberal female members are against GST, and 24 Liberal female members are neutral towards GST. So this is the data set that we have extended now. So you can very well find that there are three variables. And similarly, since this is a frequency data, so you have to go to data, you have to do this weight cases option. Under weight cases, you have to bring these frequencies that I have shown. This is applicable here also. So when you have done this, automatically you can very well see at the right hand corner, weight on option is here. So it is being initiated, weight on. Now you can do the analysis. So this is clear to you now?
Yes, sir.
This is clear?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So now since it is a three variable case, how we do the analysis? Go to analyze, go to descriptives, click the cross tab. Under cross tab, see here, we have the influencing variable is the party. That's why I will bring it under column. The dependent variable or the influenced variable is the GST law or tax. We will bring under row. Sex or gender is the third variable. We should bring under this layer. Just check layer 1 of 1. If you click next, if you have 4 variables, the fourth variable will again be brought under this layer. It will be of 2. Again, if you click next, then it will be 3. So this is how you can bring all the variables which are more than 2 under layer in SPSS. This is clear to you?
Yes, sir.
So other things will be same. Display bar chart bars we will see with the help of graph. We will go to statistics and we will click the chi-square. We will click OK. In cells, we have to put the expected one, and under percentage we will click column. We will click continue. If we click OK, now see results given. See here, both male and female wise 2 graphs have been generated, and chi-square statistics for male and female have been generated. Not only that, you will get the cross tab as well. Now we need to interpret one by one. How we run this is clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now just check. We have 800 members. Sample size is 800. No missing value is here. So 800 has given their preferences. Now if you check, first come to the total. If you check, among 800 members, 480 are members who are male. 320 are female. Not only that, if you check, sorry, just check, among 800 members, 480 members are Conservative Party members and 320 members belong to Liberal Party members. So out of 800, 420 are Conservative members, 320 are Liberal members. Now, if you check among these 800 members, if you check, 48% are favorable towards GST law, 40% are against GST law, and 12% are neutral. Now, if you check the category wise, the male female, see, if you check the male one, just check, 75.8% of the male members who belong to Conservative Party are favorable towards GST. 32.3 members, Liberal Party member, male member, are in favor of GST. 15.2% of the Conservative Party member who are male are against GST. 48.4% of the party member who are Liberal Party member are against GST. 32.7%, rather 9.1% of the Conservative Party member who are male member are neutral towards GST. 19.4% of the Liberal Party members who are male members are neutral towards GST. Similarly, if you check here, 75.8% of the male members who belong to Conservative Party are favorable towards GST. 32.3% of the Liberal Party members who are male members are favorable towards GST. 15.2% of the Conservative Party members who are male members are against GST. 48.4% of the Liberal Party members who are male members are against GST. Now, if you come to the female, see, 51.9% of the female members who belong to Conservative Party are favorable towards GST. 16.3% of the female members who are Liberal Party members are favorable towards GST. 37% of the female members who are Conservative Party members are against GST. 71.4% of the female members who are Liberal Party members are against GST. Now, this is clear if you check the two graphs. First, you check the male. See, the male members, majority of the male members are in favor GST. See here, maximum of the female members are against GST. Not only that, if you identify the party membership, the party color, maximum of the male members belong to Conservative Party who are favorable towards GST. And just check, maximum of the female members who are Liberal Party members are against GST. This is clear?
Yes, sir.
Now we need to check the inferential statistic. And if you check both male and female, the Pearson chi-square, both are significant. Both are significant. That's why there is huge difference in the voting preferences, not only influenced by party membership, but also influenced by the gender. Female members are against, most of the female members are against GST, most of the members are favorable towards GST. So there is a gender bias. This is clear to you?
Yes, sir.
So we can run like this, we can interpret like this. You know how to interpret now. We will write like this for, say, chi-square, within bracket we will write male is equal to, chi-square male is 69.155, 69.155, degree of freedom is equal to significance is 0.001. Which is less than 0.05. Similarly, chi-square female $59.979. 59.979. 59.979. So what we will interpret here, can anybody tell me? Both are significant?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. What should be your conclusion?
There are significant preference differences amongst the gender.
Gender, but also there is significant differences among the party affiliation. Means the male members who belong to Conservative Party are favorable towards the GST. Female members who belong to Liberal Party are against GST. This is our conclusion. Clear?
Okay, sir. Clear.
Okay, sir.
So actually I have dealt with two crosstab and crosstab layer we have done. Now today we will finish it off with goodness of fit and test of independence. So now we will be doing the goodness of fit test and we will finish it off for today with the help of test of independence. So till now, if you have any doubt, please feel free to ask me. No doubt. It's okay till now. Please then write in the chat box, okay. Then I will proceed, at least 5 of you. Only 2, 3 I have got. Okay, thank you, thank you. So let me now deal with the goodness of fit test. Now, first we should understand that when we will be applying the goodness of fit test, with the help of a data set, let us show you the data set and we should understand the story of the data set, and then we will be able to understand that why we are going to do the goodness of fit test. Now before actually using the goodness of fit test, let me write just a sentence that actually goodness of fit so you with the just by naming this goodness of fit means certain fit measures are being applied, whether it is a good fit or a bad fit. So this means that we are trying to assess, means rather goodness of fit test what it does, it assess whether pattern of results matches with the predicted pattern or not. With the predicted pattern. Actually, this is observed pattern. Whether the observed pattern, we call it as O, matches with the expected pattern, we call it as E. So we need to assess whether the observed and the expected matches or not. In that case, we apply this goodness of fit test. Now, if you check the data set, here we have basically one variable, the color. Frequency, you know that this is a frequency data. If you check the color, you see here, we have 4 colors. 1 is denoted by red, 2 is denoted by blue, 3 is denoted by black, and 4 is denoted by white. Now, what is the story behind the data set? The story behind the data set is, if you calculate this, so 48 plus 15, 48 plus 15 is 63, and 27 is 90 plus 10, 100. So 100 actually members are there, and suppose they have gone to a showroom, they will buy car, the same model they will buy. They have been given the option, 4 colors they have been given to choose from: red, blue, black, and white. So suppose our expected is that there will be equal frequencies, means equal preference. So if our expected, so observed and expected, so expected is, suppose we have equal preference, that we are expecting the car showroom is expecting that all the colors will be chosen equally, equal preference. So if there are 100 members and if there are 4 colors, so 4 colors means 0.25. So 100 into 0.25 means it is expecting that 25 members each will be choosing that 4 colors, that is red, blue, black, and white. So the showroom owner is actually expecting that the 4 colors should be chosen equally by the prospective customer. So this is clear to you till now?
Yes, sir.
Now you have measured their responses. Actually, when you have measured their responses, you find 48 of them chosen red, 15 chosen blue, 10 chosen black, 27 chosen white. Means this is the observed frequencies. So now what you are testing, whether your observed and your expected matches or not. That's why you are applying goodness of fit test. So how we will do this? Go to analyze, go to non-parametric. Under legacy dialogues, you see chi-square. Have you seen this?
Yes, sir.
Just check this. What is our variable color under test variable box? See, all categories equal. Why our expected value is that all will be equally chosen, 0.25. That's why we will be clicking all categories equal. Now, suppose you are not assuming that your all categories will be equal. Suppose I'm giving you an example that instead of this, suppose you expected, or the car showroom owner expected, say red will be red, blue and white will be chosen equally, and black will be chosen more, say 0.40. 0.40, 40% will choose black and the rest will be chosen equally, say 0.20, 0.20, 0.20. So it comes to 1. So probability should always comes to 1. Suppose expected is like this, then it is not equal. Then you cannot choose like this. You cannot choose this all categories equal. You have to choose this value and you have to put 1 by 1. Say red, you have to put, this is a hypothetical example I am giving. Red 0.20, add blue 0.20, add black 0.40, add white 0.20, add. Then we will click OK if we have this pattern. But here we are assuming that all the colors will be chosen equally. That's why we will be using all categories equal. This is clear to you?
Yes, sir.
So now click OK. See here. What is the result given? See, expected was equal 25, but observe different. Red has been chosen more. The residual, see, it is positive, means red has been chosen more than expected. Blue has been chosen less than expected. That's why negative. Black chosen less than expected. That's why negative. And white is more or less same. Observed and expected is more or less same. Now, if you check the hypothesis that we have framed, see here, it is significant. So, chi-square is 34.320. How we will write? See here, we have framed the hypothesis. How we should write? Chi-square is equal to, what is the value? 34.320. 34.320. Degree of freedom is equal to 3. Why 4 colors n minus 1 is 3. P value is 0.001, which is less than 0.05. Therefore, we reject the null hypothesis. Now, what is the null hypothesis here? And what is the alternative? Can anybody tell? What is the null hypothesis and what is the alternative hypothesis? There is
There are equal preferences.
or we may write no significant difference between the observed and the expected pattern, or between the observed and the predicted pattern, and alternative is the significant differences between observed and expected pattern. So we find significant difference between the two. Clear?
Clear, sir.
So any doubt regarding goodness of fit test? When it is applied, why it is applied, how it is applied, you can ask. Or if you have no doubt, if it is okay, then we will proceed towards our last topic of today, that is test of independence. This is the third one, test of independence. So you may ask if you have any doubt.
Hello, sir.
Yes.
Please repeat one more again. In short, when I apply Friedman test, and sorry, the different part of chi-square test.
Basically, see, you have three types of chi-square. One is the cross tab, one is the goodness of fit, the other is the test of independence. Cross tab, I have shown you that when you have two variables or more than two variables, if you want to compare between them, you can do this. If you have ordinal data, ordinal or nominal data, means categorical data, whether count data or frequency data or percentage data, you apply chi-square, cross tab chi-square. Now, when you are trying to fit between the observed and the expected, when you are trying to match between the two, your observed data and the expected data, which is frequency or count data, you apply goodness of fit test. This is clear?
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Third one, we will do test of independence. Now, before going to test of independence, just in the chat box you write, if you have any doubt, write R, or if it's okay with you, write O. If it's okay, write O. Or if anybody thinks that I should repeat, you can write R. I want maximum answers, feedback. Otherwise, it is difficult to interact online because I cannot see you, whether you are with me or not, whether you are going with me or not. It is really tough to understand. Thank you. Thank you all. Thank you. So let me now deal with test of significance, or test of independence rather. Independence test or test of independence. Chi-square test of independence. Now, let me first tell you the logic of this data set, what is the story, and why we will be applying the test of independence. Now, say here we have two variables, gender and I. Say gender, we are denoting one as males, two as females, and we have two types of I. One is the color blind, the other is not color blind. So one is denoted as color blind, two is not color blind. So we have, see here, you can check, this is the frequency data. So automatically when you have frequency data, you apply chi-square. Now whether you will be applying a cross tab or a goodness of fit or a test of independence, that you have to decide. I have already discussed when we apply goodness of fit, how we apply goodness of fit, when we apply cross tab, and how we apply that. Now we will be dealing with the test of independence. Now, it depends on our hypothesis, what we frame and what is our idea, what is our research idea. Depending on that, we will be applying the test. Now here, just check, we have 38 males who are colorblind. We have 442 males who are not colorblind. We have 6 females who are colorblind, and we have 514 females who are not colorblind. So very well, if you check here, we have 480 males and 520 females. So here we have 420 males and we have 480 males and 520 females. So we have 480 males and we have 520 females in our data set. Now, suppose as a researcher, we have heard that color blindness is related to gender. Say in certain populations. In certain populations. We have heard this, or we have read somewhere, or popularly it is being stated. So we want to check with the help of data whether color blindness is related with gender or not. That's why we have collected data. We have total 1000 data set, and we have, out of that we have 480 males and 520 females. We have collected data. Now, as a researcher, we are aware that color blindness is actually a genetic trait and it may or may not be related to gender. So we are trying to check whether it is related to gender or not. So what should be our alternative hypothesis and what should be our null hypothesis? Can anybody tell me?
So there are difference between color blindness in related gender.
First, we will write, as a researcher, what we are claiming. Color blindness is related with gender.
Yes.
So we will write alternative hypothesis, our claim or the researcher's idea. Color blindness and gender are related. What is the opposite of null hypothesis?
So not related.
If it is not related, means it is independent. Here it is related means it is dependent. This is clear or not?
Yes, sir.
So here color blindness and gender are dependent, we are assuming. Here color blindness and gender are not dependent, they are independent. So we have to check from the data set that whether we are accepting the null hypothesis or we are rejecting the null hypothesis. This is clear or not?
Clear, sir.
So you know that since it is a frequency data, you have to first do the weight on data, weight cases, and this is the number or frequency. You need to bring it under frequency variable. You have to click OK. Then automatically the frequency data will be considered by SPSS and weight on will be shown. So we have done this. Now we need to check the hypothesis. What we will do, we will go to analyze, we go to descriptive statistics. Under descriptive statistics, you have crosstab. Till now it is clear to you?
Yes, sir.
You are following me?
Yes, sir.
So we are putting, the I is the influencing variable, so we are putting under column, and gender we are putting under row. Number is the frequency, already we have seen that the weight on is there. Go to statistics, click the chi-square, go to sales, click the expected. You can click row column as well to convert it in percentage. If you may use, you may not use. Just why not using, I am telling you what happens. But expected and observed will be there. Why? Because you are matching it, whether observed and expected are equal or not. Just click OK. See here, we have 1000 cases. No missing values are there. Just if you check the cross tab, see here, males and females, color blindness and not color blindness, it is being tabulated. See, out of 1000 total, just check, 956 are not color blind, 44 of them are color blind. Now, if you check the male female, just check, out of 480 male, 442 are not color blind, 38 are color blind. Out of 520 females, 514 are not color blind, 6 are color blind. Now, if you check the test with the help of inferential statistics, that is the chi-square, you check to just test the hypothesis, you find it is significant. Just check it is significant. So what is the 27.139? Chi-square value is 27.139. Degree of freedom 1. P-value 0.001, which is less than 0.05. So what we do?
We reject the null hypothesis.
What will be our conclusion?
Gender and color blindness are related.
Yes, sir. Gender and color blindness are dependent.
So we may write, we have statistical, we are talking statistically, we have statistical evidence in support of researchers' idea, that is the alternative hypothesis, that there is relationship between color blindness and gender. Clear? Is clear to you?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So very important is to frame the hypothesis, and according to your hypothesis framing, you need to choose the test depending on your data set that you have collected. That is the crux of research. So in both days class, I have tried my level best to make these things familiar with you so that you can proceed with your research in future. with confidence and ease. I don't know whether I have done justice or not, but I will be happy if it is helpful for you. So, any questions you may ask, any queries you have, you may ask, or otherwise we will call it off for the day. And I will finish it off with your feedback. So, if it's okay with you, please type O, or if you have doubts or queries, you may write D or Q and you may ask me.